it and speak with people and feel the language.
Wow, that's so basically hands-on, right? Hands-on learning. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a shooting star break for a moment here. So as you can see, Barbara herself, what we say, hands-on learning or hands-on training. I asked if she was just hands-on learning or hands-on training. This is when you're not actually going to a school to learn from books. You're doing this or learning this as you go, as you're doing your trait, as you're doing your job type of thing, right? Is that your hands-on of all your languages?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. So what about the English then? I mean, where did the English, because you naturally grew up in Australia,
Yeah,
right?
so we spoke English at home. My dad's Korean. My mum is Australian. She also speaks fluent Korean because she used to speak to my 할머니 so much, to my grandma.
Wow.
But my parents chose to speak English at home, so we didn't pick it up, unfortunately.
Wow. Now, do you wish you picked up more languages, or do you want to, or just focus on the few?
I really wish that I'd picked up Korean.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. I love the sound of Korean, and when I hear it, it's like a nice nostalgic family feeling. Yeah, because all my relatives, I grew up with all my Korean relatives in Australia. And it's really a great pity because as a child you could learn languages so easily.
Yeah.
So Korean, and I wish my Italian was fluent. I'm actually going to restart my studies of Italian next year. And apart from that, I'm good. I think that if I could get those two, improve a little bit my Korean and improve my Italian, that would be great.
Wow. So tell me, in terms of when you are traveling, do you often travel, or is it like a once-a-month thing, or are you constantly on travel?
I have phases where I'm constantly traveling. It tends to be on average about 2 journeys a month. When I'm in Europe, it's often even just train journeys. I'll do little trips just on the weekends to guest teach in different cities, and that's often doable by train, which I prefer, rather than airports and planes and everything. And then Korea, I've been coming on average 3 times a year to teach, and I go back to Australia once a year. So, yeah.
Wow, so you are quite a traveler.
Yes.
So when you're on the plane, do you do any kind of particular exercises on the plane for a long flight over?
For a long flight, you might catch me up the back of the plane
Really?
stretching a little bit. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay, we can stand up, and can you show us 1 or 2 plane stretches?
Sure.
Okay.
One thing I do is also in the seat.
Go ahead. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
in the
one
seat.
thing.
Okay.
So one thing, because when you've been sitting for hours and hours and hours, you kind
We're
of...
on the airplane.
Yeah.
We're buckled.
Yeah. It kind of
Okay.
compresses your spine a bit. And also your hip flexors will get a bit tight. So one thing I like to do is just do that. And then it's kind of like traction for your spine. You just let your spine kind of lengthen down.
Like this.
Yeah, and just the weight of your pelvis kind of gives you a natural stretch. Yeah, so that's one thing I like to do, just that. Yeah, and then I might sort of just twist in my seat a little bit. Yeah.
That's actually good.
But the best thing is to stand up. Should I do that?
Okay, yeah, stand. 일어설 거예요.
So when sitting for many, many hours in an airplane and your legs are kind of in this position, of course, so the hip flexors get very tight, the opposite of that would be to take one leg back. So you might see me in the plane with one leg back like that and then trying to get my pelvis as upright as possible. And then if I take one hand and pull up my left side, I get a nice stretch through the front of my left hip. And it feels really good if you've been sitting for long periods of time, just to do something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the other way on this side?
Yeah, I can do the other side. But usually if I go up to the back of the plane and if it's a flight to Korea, there are Koreans in the plane too doing... You know, they like to go to the back and...
We hit,
yeah,
right?
you like to hit and do some, things with their head. And I always have a little laugh because Germans would be too shy, I think. They would not do some stretching in public. But, yeah.
And you're back there with the Koreans.
Yeah. And, they if they need to get up and move around a little bit or sort of, do some things like this or like this, they do it.
Right. Why do you think us Koreans, we tend to hit? Why do we hit?
I don't know.
you know?
I was thinking about that today because I saw some of my students do that. I have a feeling it might be something to do traditional with like Chinese medicine and the movement of qi and getting energy moving in the body. I think it might be
the
something.
blood flow.
Yeah, I think it might be related to that.
Do you ever hit?
No, I tend to massage, but
okay. So
yeah.
you never say, "Oh, my arm."
no, that's a really Korean thing. Like, oh, my back is hurting. Oh, and then they hit themselves. So,
So it's more massage. That's what you
yeah,
actually
I'll
do.
tend to massage more or stretch.
Ah, very good. Have you ever maybe prepared something for people who are maybe working and usually in their seat on offices? Have you done
Yeah,
things
I
like
can
this?
give my students a little routine that they can do at the office. You know, you don't need to take your shoes off. You don't need to get down on the floor. And yeah.
So what would you recommend in an office seat? Because we're always on the computer,
Yeah.
and especially some of our students are always, practicing learning, watching our Star English,
Yeah.
interviews. So what, please share with us. What are
Sure.
some of the things that you could
Well,
share?
one of the things is that when you're sitting at a desk and you're concentrated, looking like, say, into a screen, into your computer, you're concentrated, your head is forward, which will flatten your neck, and your shoulders will be forward.
Right.
And this kind of position of your shoulders forward and your neck flat, this will eventually create tension in the trapezius and the muscles around the neck and upper shoulders, upper back. So one really good thing to do is it's that logical. You just do the opposite.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
And one thing I like to do is that I put my hands behind my head with my elbows a little forward. You're doing well, Dorothy.
Okay.
Perfect. And then
I'm
just
learning.
Yeah, and then just take a deep breath. So when you take a deep breath, you get more space inside.
Right.
Yeah. And then just take your shoulders back until your armpits are a bit more hollow. And now push your head back into your hands and open your throat. And if you do that, you engage all the muscles of the neck.
Oh,
And-
open my throat as an ah?
No,
Or no?
just let this part open.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And that usually, if you do that for a moment, like really push your head back in your hands. I know it looks a bit weird.
Oh,
And then you release slowly.
Okay.
And the neck will feel much better. You'll release all the tension there.
Wow. That's really good. So a lot of times, pressure the opposite way is actually what you're saying is good
Movement
to do.
in the opposite direction, yeah, to the movement that's creating the problem.
Wow. Another one? Do you have another one?
Let me see. Another one. Let me see.
Especially
yeah, just
we're typing a
standing.
lot, maybe with
yeah,
the hands.
Yeah.
What do we do with the hands?
So another nice thing to do is you can just get your hands on the desk like that.
Oh, okay.
It's nice to stand up. And if you do this with your shoulders back, so you don't want to round your back,
Right.
you want to have your shoulders nice and back. So that's another one.
Yeah.
Good. And always with the breathing. So that's what makes it the yoga, is that you take deep, slow breaths. And
Do you go in, breathe in, or